everybody, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Cassandra. As you can see by the title of this video, it's a pretty like cheesy title, but there was like no better way for me to explain what this video is going to be talking about. So today I'm going to be talking about my fashion journey and kind of where I'm at right now, because disclaimer, I am obviously not someone established in the industry or any of that. I'm just someone trying to navigate my way into the industry and like looking for internships and all that. And I know there's a ton of people like me who are interested in this. And if you are new here, I used to be a fashion styling assistant, and I have a very small channel obviously, but those are like one of my more popular videos, and I still get questions about it sometimes. I still get a few comments on it. I get DMs about it sometimes, like asking me about my experience and like, oh, like why'd you quit and all that. So I thought this would be a great video to kind of explain how I got there, like how I got that internship, and kind of explaining my time as a styling assistant and also the real reason why I quit. So I feel like this is a good video to kind of explain all of that as well. Also, if you watch like my very first video, I originally started this channel to kind of document my life as a fashion student, and one day I never posted about fashion school again because I did have a few videos of me attending fashion school. Then like I said, I never posted about it again, but that's because I don't even think I ever addressed this, but I actually dropped out of fashion school. So I'm going to also explain how I got into fashion school and kind of explaining my experience and why I actually dropped out. And yeah, so despite quitting a job that I thought I would love and would be my dream career, and despite dropping out of a school that I thought I would love as well, this doesn't necessarily stop me from wanting to be in the fashion industry. And I feel like a lot of people as well kind of think that when you quit something like that or drop out of school like that, that you kind of feel like maybe like a failure or something, and that you can't continue on with like trying to have the career you want. But I feel like that's BS. You still can. It's just like, you know, things happen. You like learn from these experiences, and yeah, so I thought I would just kind of explain how all of that happened and kind of where I'm at now and what's next for me. So with that being said, let's just get straight into the video. I'm going to move a bit closer to the camera because I realize you can see my sweatpants that I changed into. Also, I have my iPad here with all my notes because I am someone that once I start talking, I go off topic and start talking about a million different things, and I just never get to the point, so I need guidance. Also, I want to make this very brief and short because I don't want this video to be a million years long, because I know people kind of like get bored after it's like been 45 minutes or something. So I'm gonna try to just hit the points that are the most important. So let's get started. So first off, I kind of want to explain like how I got into fashion, like how I got into loving it and stuff. So fashion has been something that I've just like always loved as a kid. I've always had a passion for styling. I loved giving fashion advice to my friends and family. I loved like styling them, but it was something that I never really knew that I could kind of have as a career. Like, even though fashion was always with me from the very beginning, it was just, I don't know, just didn't occur to me at a young age that I could have that as a job. Also, you know, when you're younger, you kind of like, you're not like very sure of what you want to do. There's just like so many different options that are thrown at you at a young age, especially at school. They're always like telling you different career paths. So yeah, it was just something that wasn't like really occurring in my mind. And also when I was younger, I was very focused on wanting to be a dancer because I dedicated a lot of my like younger years to dancing. Like my weekends were dedicated to dancing. I just really wanted to be a dancer. Like that was like what my whole life was. So at the time I was very focused on that. So like I said, it wasn't really occurring to me that I could have fashion as a career. Also, growing up, I did go to private school from like elementary to high school. So, you know, in private school you have to wear uniforms. So I realistically didn't find my own style until like way later on, except I do remember on the days when I was in private school, I do remember on the days when we had like free dress days or whatever people would call it. I remember the night before I would really make it a thing to plan out my outfit, make sure it was like up to my liking and that it was cool and all that. So like I said, even though despite being in private school, I was always very like, ooh, fashion, clothing, style. So like I said, it did take me a while to kind of find my own fashion sense, my own personal style. So that didn't actually happen until like recently. Like I said, like I didn't actually get to start experimenting with clothing until college, and I only recently graduated college. I graduated in 2021, so that's a long time. But I did always know that fashion was with me all along. So honestly, it didn't really hit me, and like I didn't really put the pieces together that like your passion is fashion until I was like a junior in college, which was like very late. I was like very far into my major. I studied broadcasting and electronic communications, which I don't know why. It was like something that I didn't like mind what I was studying. I did enjoy it to some extent, but I knew it wasn't my passion. I knew that that wasn't what I was loving compared to like my friends who were in that major and like everyone else studying that. So I knew like it wasn't my thing. So like I said, it took me junior year to kind of realize like, you know, I've always loved fashion. Like, why did it take me this long to kind of realize that? I was always very inspired by like fashion blogs growing up. I loved like old school YouTube when it was like all about beauty gurus and like fashion lookbooks and all that. So like at a very young age, I still watched all of that, which is why I was always like, why did it take me so long to realize like I've always been interested in that? And like I said, I was always very inspired by that. So once that like clicked in my head, junior year of college, I was like, okay, I want to start taking things more seriously and start to like just really put it out there that I want to pursue fashion. So I started a fashion blog, which I still have. I just don't post on it as often. I still keep it. I'm always going to keep it, and I'm hoping it's going to turn into something more, but I did start a fashion blog. I started fashion blogging. So then after that, I was like, the next big step for me is to go to fashion school. So I was already very far into my major at my previous college, like I said. So like I said, I didn't mind it. I did like it. It did teach me a lot of valuable skills like video editing and marketing, social media, stuff like that. So it wasn't a waste, but I did enjoy it. So I was like, I'm going to graduate with my bachelor's and then go to fashion school. So that was the next big step for me. So I actually started my YouTube channel because I wanted to document my life as a fashion student. And then, like I said in the beginning of this video, I quickly, after a few semesters, dropped out. So I did go to FIDM, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising here in Los Angeles. And I remember the application process wasn't hard. I mean, it was quite tedious because you needed to make a portfolio, but I already had my blog. So I used my blog actually as my like project for the application process, and it actually helped me get in. So if you want to start like a blog or something and then go to fashion school, that definitely does help. It shows you already have the interest. I got into fashion school and I was really excited. I was like, oh, these are gonna be like my people, because like, you know, we're all interested in fashion and stuff like that. And no, I remember like orientation day, I just felt so weird and so off. And like usually I don't care if like I feel that way when I'm entering something new, because you know it's very common for you to be nervous or just feel kind of weird when you're starting something new, especially like going to a new school. So I was like, okay, whatever, I kind of like shrugged it off. And then I started like my classes. I was studying visual communications because at the time I knew for a fact I wanted to pursue styling. I was like, I want to be a stylist. Like I already knew that. And they were like, oh, visual communications, like it's all about styling. So I was like, perfect. Okay, I'm going to have a major all about styling. The problem were the classes. They kept saying like, this is a great major if you want to be a stylist. And I feel like every class I took had to do with literally everything but fashion styling. I was like learning how to paint, which like, okay, yeah, like color theory and all that, I get it. But I was like learning how to paint. And then we took a Photoshop class, which like came in handy, but at the same time I was being like taught how to Photoshop CD covers, and I was like, why? Wait, why? And then I was in a photography class and I was like, oh, this should be fun. I like, you know, video editing and photography. And then it was like, the teacher flat out was like, for this class, we're going to skip the fashion photography section because, you know, with Instagram and stuff, you guys already take your own fashion photos. And I was like, Instagram photos are like so different from like actual fashion photography. And then I was in another class, we were learning to literally like create sets like for like plays. And I was like, I understand why this is like called like visual communications, but I was just told that I was going to be learning fashion styling, so I felt like I was doing visual communication things that all had to do with like everything but fashion. And I was like, this is a fashion school, like. And then I was like looking at the classes, and there was only like 2 out of the like 50 or however how many classes I would have had to take in for that certificate, because I was doing an AA degree, because I was just doing an associate's, because I was like, I've already been in school for 4 years, I'm just gonna do 1 to 2 years more, just to kind of like have it on my resume that I like studied fashion. Which, one thing, you don't like need to have the like fashion degree to get your way into the industry. I feel like personally, from my experience, I think fashion school is very helpful if you want to be a designer or if you're very unsure of like what you want to do in the industry. And at the time, keyword, at the time, I was very sure at the time, like I said, keyword, I was very sure at the time that I wanted to be a stylist. So that's why I felt like, because I already knew what I wanted to learn and I wasn't getting that at the same time, I felt like I was kind of wasting my time. And also FITM's very, very expensive. Very expensive. So I felt like I was kind of wasting my money because I wasn't getting what I wanted out of it. You had to pay for so many like meticulous like little things, and it was like, I never failed a class, but I remember if you failed a class you had to pay like $600 just because you failed, and I thought that was like very odd. And I was just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I'm wasting my money and like not getting what I want out of it. And also this is my experience. I still have friends who still go there and they love it. They have a very different experience. They really like it. I like the people I met though, for sure. I definitely liked my friends that I met through FITM. Like, they're very sweet, very like creative people. So this is just my experience. So I remember I was just like, I don't know, I feel like I'm wasting my money and I'm not getting what I want out of it. And also like the homework was hard. It was like, it took up a lot of your time. I mean, I didn't drop out because the homework was hard. I can deal with like hard work, especially if it's like things you don't want to do. But the fact that it like, I don't know, it wasn't really benefiting me. It had nothing to do with fashion styling, that I was kind of like, why am I paying for this? Especially because a lot of my money and savings went to like my previous college and having to live in another city and stuff like that. So then I was kind of just like, you know, realistically, I'm not getting what I want out of this. I'm not learning anything. I'm just spending my money. So I decided to drop out after like a few semesters. And I remember thinking that I felt kind of like, I was like, ugh, I look like such a failure, because never in my life have I ever quit or dropped out of something. I've always like, I would always like suck it up and just like finish whatever I was doing, just because I like the feeling of like completing something. And I felt like if I kept staying there though, I was just gonna continuously be unhappy and like spend my money on like nothing. So I remember I was just like, deep down inside I knew I was gonna drop out. And also FITM actually has a reputation of having a lot of dropouts. And I was like, that's not gonna be me, but here I am. But I just felt like nothing was benefiting me, I was just not getting anything out of it. So I decided to drop out. And I was, like I said, I felt kind of upset and felt like a failure for a second, but I would talk to my friends about it. And then I remember I told one of my closest friends, and she was like, honestly, good. And I was like, why good? And she was like, honestly, you looked so unhappy for like the few months you were there. Like, I don't think you needed to go there. And I thought that was a very sweet thing, and it like helped me kind of have some what's the word, it helped me, it made me feel a little bit better about my decision. There we go. But at the time, yes, like I said, I took it quite hard that it wasn't even that like I felt bad that I left the school. It was more like I just felt like a failure and that I like didn't finish something, because I unfortunately do have like some family members who like didn't like the idea that I was dropping out, and that they were like kind of embarrassed to tell like the other family members that I like quit, especially because it was like out of character for me. So that did kind of affect me quite a bit. So then for a long period of time, like for like a few months after I left FITM, I kind of fell into this like weird funk where I felt like I really didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was doing. And I also have obsessive compulsive disorder, and it hit me really badly right after I left FITM, because quick mental health chat. When it comes to obsessive compulsive disorder, things get like triggered, or like things flare up when like maybe something difficult was happening at your time. And I felt like I had a lot of free time, and I was just like, I just was really upset at the fact that I didn't finish something and that I didn't know what was next for me, because I've always been someone who really knew what they wanted to do, and I had it super planned out. I was like, after I graduate from my previous college, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this. And the fact that I was getting in that direction, and the fact that it like all kind of like crumbled apart, like really just affected me and bothered me so much. So then mentally I was in a very bad space. My OCD was very bad, And yeah, it was just like a whole like few months of me just feeling horrible and like not knowing what to do next. And it was like the first time like ever that I felt very stuck and very unsure of what was next for me, and it was like a feeling that I hated. So anyway, few months go by, and then I'm kind of like starting to get out of this funk, not like necessarily like feeling like better, but kind of at a point where I'm ready to like do more or try something new, because I was like, I literally like never left my room. I was in a very bad state. But anyway, this is like not what this video is about. But anyway, point is, I was like, okay, I need to really like do something. And I was like, I'm gonna just apply to a few fashion internships just to see if I can get any, because I had it in my head as well that I needed a fashion degree to get a fashion job, but that isn't true. Like, I understand like for fashion design they want to know that you can actually like sew and all that, but it's not true. It's all about the internships. Like, internships are really what helps you like kind of get into your career and helps you actually learn. So also when I left FITM, I kind of knew if I had a fashion internship I would learn more like being hands-on with something. When I finally felt better enough to kind of start trying something different, I was like, okay, let me apply to all of these fashion internships. So I applied to like so many, so many, and I didn't hear back from a lot, and I was like so devastated. I started to feel worse again. I was like, I have no idea what's gonna happen to me. Also, it's very common to kind of fall into this like funk. I didn't know this was a thing, but I guess there's like something called post-grad depression, and when I graduated from my previous college, when I had my bachelor's, I did kind of fall into a funk, and then it went away when I started fashion school. Left fashion school, happened again. But anyway, point is, so I didn't hear back from a bunch of internships, and I was like, oh, I really don't know what to do now. And then finally I got a response, and I got my first big fashion internship, but that happened so quickly. So I remember I got the, hey, are you free tomorrow? And then I said, yes, I am free tomorrow. And then I never heard from like the stylist for the rest of the day. So then I was like, oh, okay, she probably found someone else or something like that. And then the next day I'm just kind of sitting, chilling, and then I get another message. This was like all on Indeed, by the way. That's how I find like all of these internships. And then on Indeed I got another message, and she was like, can you come in like in a few hours? And I was like, oh, okay. And then for a second I almost didn't go, because I was like, oh, it's too short notice. And then my sister was like, no, you should go. These are like the times you should go. And I was like, oh, shoot, fine. Okay, I'll go. So I got ready super fast, and I just went, and I was so nervous. And I remember just like entering, and it was like super like Devil Wears Prada. The first thing that happened was like, oh, can you run and go pick up these things? And I was just like frantic, like nervous. I mean, like, okay, fine, okay, sure. So I'm like driving around already, like on my first day, didn't even get to introduce myself, picking up these things, literally picking up coffee and lunch, like typical interns, like intern stuff. It was like kind of what I expected, but at the same time not. It definitely felt like a movie, definitely felt like a fashion Devil Wears Prada sort of thing. And only reason why I was like, I kind of expected that but not, was because, you know, like Devil Wears Prada is very like exaggerated movie, like fashion movies are always very exaggerated, but it really was like that. I felt like I was like doing so many things. I felt like I was doing like everything wrong. I felt like, I don't even know, but at the same time it was like fun. Like I liked the rush of doing everything, and I met some like really cool other interns. Like we all quickly became friends and all that, but oh my goodness, the workload that we had to do was insane. So the internship, I actually was only meant to be there for 1 week. I was meant to literally just be an intern for a week, which that was my first thing that I thought was odd, because I was like, aren't internships like a month thing or like 3-month thing? And I thought it was weird that I was just gonna be there for a week. So I kind of already like could tell I was being just used as extra help, but I was like, whatever, like I can put on my resume and I get to actually be hands-on with something I want to try. And I remember we were working on a commercial, which I don't think I can actually talk about what the commercial was, but it was very exciting. We were working on a commercial. We were going to like the Universal City backlot, and which is something I've only ever been on like when I would go on like the tram tours, if you're familiar with what I'm talking about. So it was like the first time I was gonna be there to work, which I thought was very exciting. And then we were working with like 2 really cool celebrities and stuff, but we were styling like a bunch of background people. and we needed like clothes. We went to like malls like every single day for like hours buying like surpluses of clothes, but to the point where like we looked so sketchy. And I'm gonna be honest, when you're like interning to be a stylist, you're going to get a lot of looks because you're gonna look super sketchy, to be honest. You're gonna look super sketchy. Everyone's gonna be like, why are you buying so many clothes? Like, when I say so many, as in like, we would walk out with like, I'm not even joking, like 10 bags of things, like 10 bags. I remember once I was sent to go do something alone, and it was so many bags that I had to be like, can I come back for the rest of the bags and put as much as I can in my car? And they were like, sure, okay. And they sent me alone, so it looked even like more sketchy. I was like, why is she buying so many things? And I was buying men's clothes. And I remember like a big thing is like, you cannot tell people like that you're a stylist, because immediately a lot of stores do not like stylists because they know at the end of the day, you're going to return the clothes. And I like kind of knew that was like a styling thing, but I didn't know how much to an extent the returns were, because this is what was like, ooh, the return process was horrible. But anyway, I also remember like the bags ripping in the middle of the mall, which sounds like I'm lying, but I was so embarrassed. I had to go like kick it all and like drag it to a corner and then go into the nearest Macy's and be like, can I have an extra bag? My bag's ripped. And I was like, this whole job is me being like really embarrassed. And I mean, it's like those things were like in the moment horrible, but like now that I look back at it, it's like kind of funny that that was happening to me. Anyway, so I had like loads of stuff, and you have to mark all the receipts and all the bags, because we would go to like the same stores like almost every single day to buy even more clothes. Like, let's say we went to a Zara. Okay, we already bought clothes from this Zara, so now we have to go to another location. So we have to like label it all to make sure everything's organized and we know which clothes goes into what bag and all of that, because then at the end of the day you have to return it to the same stores. And the fact that we had so many things, it was really hard to, you know, keep count and to organize everything, but we made it work. But point is, that's kind of like a brief explanation of how the internship went. And then we would take it all to the studios and set it all up and kind of put the pieces together for the clients and all that. So we did a lot of Amazon orders, which we had to make sure we like kept all the boxes. You have to keep like everything. You have to keep all the tags, all the boxes, because at the end of the day it's all being returned. Like literally nobody keeps anything. I thought when you work for like even higher up clients, maybe they keep things, but no. When I was like, it's even more embarrassing, because when you work for higher up clients, you're buying clothes from like higher end stores, so then you're buying like thousands of dollars worth of things, and then you have to return all of that back, and that looks really bad. Anyway, with the internship, it was only meant to be a week, and then I finished it, and I remember we literally worked from, I think I would start working from like 8, finish at 10. I would always be home at like 10:30. And that was like every single day for like a whole week straight, including the weekends. And I remember I was shocked that we didn't have the weekends off. But I was like, whatever, I'm only here for a week, I have to suck it up. And then she only asked me and another intern to work like a few more extra days to kind of help with extra returns, because we weren't able to return everything within the week because there was just like so much stuff. Also, keep in mind, I was actually supposed to be paid for this internship, and after the week ended, I thought I was gonna get paid right away, and I didn't. Also, it's very rare to find paid internships, by the way, so that's why I was like very shocked that we got paid. But obviously it was gonna be split between me and like the other interns. So I thought I was gonna be paid right after like my extra days, and I didn't. But then that's when the stylist approached me alone and was like, you know, I would love to like really take you on and like kind of train you and also make you like my personal styling assistant. And I remember being like really like, oh wow, really? You want like me to be your first assistant, you know, like just your main styling assistant? She's like, yeah, for like a few weeks I can train you, and then like after that you're just like ready to be a styling assistant. And I was like, of course I'm gonna take that on. Like that is everything I've always wanted, because you know, once you're an assistant and you assist different stylists, then you can eventually be your own stylist. So she was really like setting me up like ready for like what I've always wanted career-wise. So I was like, of course. So then the next week comes around, and then I start my job as being, first she like trained me, kind of just like showed me the ropes of what I've already was doing during the internship. Then I started to finally like actually just like work for her as her main assistant, and then she also told me that I was going to be paid as her styling assistant. So I was like, okay, cool, now I have an actual paying job. Amazing. So I was very excited that I had like my first like actual like big paying job, because like jobs I've had before were just like another internship, but it was an unpaid internship. So I was very excited that I was actually going to be paid for something that I really wanted to do. You know, overall I had like a fun experience, but then there came a point where I learned as much as I needed. As time went on, I can kind of see this pattern of like promising me things and then not actually following through with what was being said. So I kind of started seeing that happen a lot. It just got to a point where I could tell I just felt like I was being taken advantage of, and that I was putting in a lot of work kind of for nothing. And usually like the work was very hard, to be very honest, and I'm not someone to give up on something just because it's very hard. It was just, and like I was willing to stay even longer because I promised myself I would stay there for maybe like a year. But it just got to a point where like the pattern of like promising me things and then not actually providing those things was starting to just get really bad. And there was just like a lot of things I didn't agree with how the stylist went about things and like talked about people, and also like the return process that's like really turned me off. Like it just got to a point where like it's so, I don't know, I mean this is just my experience. So like I have friends who did like styling internships with like a different stylist and like loved it. So I'm pretty sure I just had like one bad experience, but I just like the return process just felt super schemy, very like weird. I didn't enjoy it. It was like we were like ripping tags off, like clients were wearing these clothes, like sweating in these clothes, and then we would have to take it to the dry cleaners, and the dry cleaners obviously like rip the tags off. And then I remember the stylist would like send me to go do it because I'm the assistant, and then I was like, how do I explain that there's no tag on this and that this looks completely worn? And she was like, just act dumb and like be like, oh, I don't know why it's like that. And I honestly like hate doing things like that. I hate the feeling of that. So when I was told to like do things like that, I just like, I don't know, I just hated the return process. I hate the feeling of doing things like that. So I don't know, it was one of those things where I was getting like, I wasn't as excited to go in to work anymore. I just, every time I would walk into a store, I like dreaded it. I knew everyone was gonna hate me. And also, we're not supposed to say we're stylists, but it was just like made so obvious like what we were doing. Like it was obvious we were returning things for a stylist and stuff like that. It was just, I don't know. Also, I always thought like when I had my dream internship or dream job, that I was going to feel fulfilled and very happy. Like I know like interns have to do like the bitch work, like the work like nobody wants to do, and I know everyone's like, oh, it gets better once you're higher up there, and I know that, but it was just like I felt like I'd feel more fulfilled and more excited for when I had that job, and I just didn't. There was like a point where like I'd be super anxious to go in, and I was just like, I just dreaded it so much, and I knew deep down inside I had to leave. Just the way everything was coming about was just getting very like toxic, very weird. Don't get me wrong, like the stylist, I really enjoyed them as a person, but I just think like work-wise, I don't know, things were just like getting weird and like changing, and I like deep down knew I had to leave. I only would stick around for so long because people clearly liked those videos. I remember like some of my friends would be like, congrats, you're like doing so well, like you're doing everything you always wanted. And I was like, honestly, I don't feel like super excited about it. And I feel like I dragged it out for like a little too long because I felt like, I don't know, I just feel like I enjoyed the fact that people thought I was like thriving, even though deep down inside I was like, I'm dying on the inside. Because also you could, I don't know if you can notice it, but like even like it was just such a stressful job and I just didn't like how I felt working as a styling assistant, that like even in like my physical health you could just see like physical changes from like all the stress and like being unhappy. And I was like, I gained so much weight, my skin was so bad, like my hair was like falling out from stress. It was just like, overall I also just like, I just felt so unhappy with what I was doing, and I felt like I knew I needed to leave. But like I said, this is just my experience. and I know a lot of other people who have really great experiences with being a fashion styling assistant, and I had a very sweet message from one of you guys telling me to actually like maybe I should try it one more time before I give it up. And I actually am thinking about applying for another fashion styling job, because like I said, I do think this is just like one experience, so like I don't like hate it. There were so many things I did like about the job. I'm just explaining why why I quit, because I just felt quite unhappy, and I do think it was just the one stylist I worked for, and it's just like my first experience, because I feel like I won't give it up until I try it maybe one more time, because like I said, there were like a lot of things I did enjoy about it. I did learn a lot. Anyway, moral of the story, the main reason why I quit was just there was so many things promised to me that I never ended up getting, and the big reason that I also quit was just the minute I was like promoted to be like the main assistant, I was just told I was going to be paid, and I was never paid. And till this day, I still have never been paid for anything I've done. Yeah, those were the main reasons why I quit. I'm still open to trying another styling job, because that was just my first experience. So yeah, I hope that kind of explains like a little bit of my experience and kind of why I quit. I know this video is probably like all over the place, but yeah, that's just kind of like my main reasoning to why I left. I was just very unhappy with both fashion school and my styling assistant job. But now to kind of talk about what's next for me. Oh my goodness. Honestly, to explain like what's next for me, I first off want to say I am probably the most lost and confused ever career-wise that I have ever been in my life, but I don't feel as bad about it as I did when I left fashion school, because when I left fashion school and I felt very lost and confused, I was very upset about it. A big lesson for me ever since I entered my 20s was a lot of things have not gone my way since I've entered my 20s, but honestly, I kind of learned like that's okay, because every time something didn't go my way, something better ended up happening anyway. So now that I'm kind of like I said, I'm like lost and confused, but now that I have this mindset, I'm kind of like okay with it. I'm actually excited. Like I said, I feel like something better is coming for me. I'm excited for what's next, and I have been applying to new internships, new jobs. I am going to try maybe styling a few more times. I'm also though applying to a lot of other fashion related jobs that aren't styling, because I feel like that's kind of like the whole career process in general, is just trying new things, trying different things in the industry you're trying to work for, because in fashion there's just like so many things you could do. There's like so many different routes you can go, and like I said, it's just like a lot of it's just like trial and error. So for instance, I tried the fashion job, I didn't like it. Am I gonna try it again one more time? Yeah, I'll try it one more time, but I'm also kind of open to like other things. So for instance, I applied for like a fashion social media job. I applied for a fashion marketing job, fashion PR and stuff like that. And even though like I hear back, I don't hear back, I don't beat myself up about it like I would have before. I'm very just like open to whatever's to come. I'm very open to what's next. I'm also trying to focus a lot on YouTube videos. I want to put more fashion content out there, focus on that, focus on like side projects like that, and just kind of have fun with it and just see what happens next. And I'm not stressed about it. Yeah, I hope that helps. I hope that explains a lot of things, because also I feel like even there's probably a lot of people in my position as well who just like do not know what to do after like graduating or after quitting the job, and I think that's totally okay. At the end of the day, you will figure it out. Things will work out for you, and never in my life did I think I was gonna be one of those people who are very much like, oh, I just trust whatever the world has for me. But honestly, that mindset has helped me so much, and honestly, every time something didn't go my way, like I said, it always works out later on. So yeah. Hey guys. Okay, it is the next day from when I filmed this video. I just wanted to quickly pop in here and film an extra clip, because I was watching the video back, and one, I tried my best at explaining as much as I can, or as much as I could in this video. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm just one of those people where like once I start talking, I just like can't stop, and I like tried as hard as I can to hit the points I was trying to make, and I did make all the points I wanted to say. Just a disclaimer, this video wasn't me going into like the great details of like what you do as a fashion stylist. This was me just talking about like my experience and like why I quit and all that. But I also just wanted to quickly say, because I feel like what I was trying to say at the end of the video didn't come across, but I feel like it's the most important to kind of sum up what's next for me and for anyone who's in the same position as me, where it's like maybe you quit your job, or maybe you graduated and you're very unsure, or maybe you were disappointed in something that you thought would be your dream career or stuff like that. So really quickly, despite not liking fashion school and despite not liking the styling job, I don't regret going to fashion school. I don't regret taking on that internship slash job. I honestly learned so much from both. I also think like trial and error in career stuff is very important, because you're learning what you like and what you don't like. And I feel like that's really important. So for instance, I was so set on wanting to be a stylist, and yes, it crushed me so hard to know or to realize that I didn't love it as much as I was hoping I'd love it. And I did take it hard, and I didn't want to admit it to myself that I didn't love it as much. But at the same time, if I never took that job, I would have never known that I didn't like it, or I would have never known that that's how I felt taking on that job. But also, like I said, I am going to try it one more time. Maybe it's going to be a whole other experience with a different stylist, or it's just going to be a whole other thing. So yeah, I just wanted to say, despite not liking either fashion school or that job, it doesn't stop me from wanting to be in the fashion industry. I don't care how long it takes or how hard it's going to be, but I definitely see myself in fashion. I know that's what my dream career is. And right now, I don't know exactly where I fit in fashion, but I just know at the end of the day, that's where I'll be. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to make that point. And if you guys are in the same position as me, don't worry. Like I said, when things don't go your way, it will always work out at the end. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Candle. Quitting a job that I thought I'd love. Hopes and I'm gonna move a little